Russia uses around 6,000 guided aerial bombs on Ukrainian territory every month. Anatoly Khrapchinsky, a former Ukrainian Air Force officer and now deputy director of an electronic warfare company, stated on Ukrainian television. According to Khrapchinsky, around 300 aircraft and 9 operational airfields are used for such strikes, and intercepting all of the KABs used is extremely difficult. The enemy deploys approximately 6,000 KABs monthly on Ukrainian territory. They use 9 operational airfields and approximately 300 aircraft deployed for strikes and escort aircraft, he said. Khrapchinsky proposed focusing on solutions that make it more difficult for Russian aircraft to use such munitions. Specifically, he proposed using long-range air-to-air missiles which can be carried under the wings of various aircraft types, F-16s, Mirages, Ukrainian MiGs and Sukhois, to repel Russian aircraft. The expert also noted that scaling up of KAB production, Arsenal 54, for example, is actively scaling up production and producing them in large quantities, and, according to him, it is easier to deprive the enemy of the ability to use such weapons than to attempt to intercept huge volumes of munitions. Khrapchinsky clarified that for an effective counteraction, a full air component is necessary. Conventionally speaking, aircraft that can launch missiles from 185 kilometers, plus airborne early warning aircraft that can operate both as targeting aircraft and as detection and identification systems, he said, adding that resistance exists but requires the availability of appropriate means and platforms. He told that long-range systems already tested by Ukraine, Storm Shadow, ATACMS, and JASM for F-16s can create a 300-kilometer strike zone around the front line. This would become a crucial advantage in talks with the aggressor state. According to him, establishing such a strike zone with partner-supplied weaponry would fundamentally shift the balance of power. I'm not talking about Taurus or other systems that may exist globally. We're talking about the weapons already in use by Ukraine's defense forces, Khrapchinsky said, citing Storm Shadow, ATACMS and JASM for F-16s. The expert explains that when Putin is restricted to a single airfield instead of 9, and only 10 Su-34s instead of 300, Ukraine's leverage in negotiations will grow considerably. At the same time, he stresses the importance of carefully assessing the entire situation as priorities shift depending on the current threat. Undoubtedly, there are positive effects from precision strikes on the oil sector, but this must be a constant, daily effort. We need to keep all critical directions in focus and conduct targeted operations accordingly, Khrapchinsky says. Anastasia Kashevarova, a Z propagandist close to the Russian authorities, made a surprising admission. She revealed that human trafficking is thriving in Putin's army. According to her, entire mafia networks operate throughout Russia and the CIS countries, profiting from recruiting occupiers for the front. Kashevarova claims that criminal groups operating in every military enlistment office operate in the military, trafficking in human goods. These organizations have contacts in local administrations, police, and military enlistment offices. According to Kashevarova, black recruiters take their victims' bank cards and documents and then manage all of the fighters' payments. Sometimes the scammers even arrange a sham marriage with a so-called black widow to receive compensation after the occupier's death. One of the key schemes is preying on people with addictions or criminal records. According to Kashevarova, such Russians are often forced to sign contracts while in a deranged state. Some are detained by police specifically so they can later be blackmailed with imprisonment and forced to serve at the front. All payments are controlled by the same recruiters. Another scheme involves luring soldiers under the guise of serving in elite units, such as the so-called Africa Corps or the Wagner Group. However, these recruits ultimately end up in completely different units, often sent on meat raids where they are successfully eliminated. Kashevarova also spoke about larger-scale machinations involving regional authorities. Sometimes entire groups of occupiers are resold between regions or units. For example, the Moscow region recruits troops for one mission and then transfers them to other regions and sends them to Donbass. The propagandist admitted that due to such schemes, the troops often end up with undesirables, sick, untrained people who only worsen and marginalize the Russian occupation army. The problem is so acute that a Kremlin-loyal propagandist has already dared to speak about it publicly. Putin's army has become a marketplace for human beings and a criminal gang. Media previously reported how Kashevarova, unexpectedly for many, openly revealed what Putin's army has become today. Kashevarova acknowledged that discipline in Russian units has been destroyed and the command structure has deteriorated due to the mass recruitment of prisoners. On our front lines, some truly terrible things happen because there's no discipline as such. It's become a system, she said. According to the propagandist, officers deliberately get rid of witnesses to their own crimes. Something's happening at the front. They, investigators, call the commander, and the commander says we can't send witnesses because they all stopped and went on the assault, she said. Thus, according to Kashevarova, any attempts by investigators to get to the bottom of the crimes are stalled, and cases are simply not opened. She also spoke about numerous cases of extortion and violence within the army. In one of the units, our own people extorted money, held them in basements, and stole all the cars. As soon as an investigation was launched, everyone was sent to the front lines. We have the story of Gyurza, where our own killed their own. In some units, we have these very same SOC members with broken arms, broken ribs. Russians are torturing Russians, and there's no oversight, Kashevarova noted. She also spoke about the widespread spread of dangerous diseases among the occupiers, which the Kremlin is ignoring, and the situation, according to her, risks getting out of control and the epidemic will spread to Russia. We pretend the problem doesn't exist, but it does. We don't write off patients with hepatitis and HIV. We continue to fight, Kashevarova admitted. Thus, from the Kremlin's own propagandist, came confirmation. The Russian army is rapidly deteriorating, turning into a criminal enterprise governed by the laws of force and fear. And, as she herself warns, this chaos already threatens to spread beyond the front lines deep into Russia.